To the chosen one reading this, you have likely always felt that your life carries a specific weight that others cannot quite fathom. It isn't just your imagination. Your very presence has the power to shift the atmosphere of a room, and your energy moves things in the spiritual realm that most people don't even perceive. This heightened state of being is a gift, but it also carries a significant responsibility. Because you occupy a different frequency, what might be harmless or neutral for most people can actually become a point of danger for you. You are not living a random, accidental life. You are walking a path defined by a higher calling. Because your life is intentional, the opposition you face is equally intentional. The enemy doesn't always rush you with loud or obvious attacks. Instead, he observes you from a distance. He studies your habits, your deep compassion, and your moments of selfless kindness. He waits patiently for a small opening, a subtle gesture that looks generous, innocent, or even loving on the surface. Through that unnoticed door, he attempts to step into your space. This is why today's message is so vital for your journey. You are about to discover 3 things you should never lend to anyone, not out of selfishness, but because protection is a fundamental part of your divine assignment. Listen closely, because the 3rd item on this list is ignored by almost everyone, even those who consider themselves spiritually aware. It is precisely because it is overlooked that it causes so much silent, lingering damage in the lives of the chosen. Stay fully present as we go through this, because this understanding can close doors you didn't even know were standing wide open. If you feel this message is speaking directly to your soul, pause for a moment and press like as a sign of alignment. Subscribe to stay within this stream of revelation and comment 99 below. In spiritual terms, 99 represents the completion before a transition, the final moment before elevation. By writing it, you declare that what drains you ends today. The first thing you should never lend, no matter how harmless it sounds or how normal society has made it feel, is your pillow. At first glance, this might seem almost ridiculous or too small to matter. But that is exactly why it is an effective entry point. The most dangerous doors are rarely labeled as threats. Your pillow is not just a piece of bedding or a place to rest your head. It is the one physical object that witnesses you when your defenses are completely down. It receives you when your body shuts off and your spirit loosens its grip on the physical world to enter the realm of rest. Every night, without you even realizing it, your pillow becomes a silent container for your essence. It absorbs the rhythm of your breath slowing down, the unraveling of your deepest thoughts, and your worries as they settle one last time before sleep takes hold. It holds the weight of the prayers you never whisper out loud and the tears you wipe away in the dark. Most people don't understand that sleep is not a neutral state. It is a spiritual passage. When you sleep, your conscious control fades, making your inner world more accessible. This is why clarity or warnings often come through dreams. Your pillow sits at the exact intersection between your mind and your spirit during your most vulnerable state. It becomes a sponge, not just for physical sweat, but for spiritual imprints. Every night you use it, it learns you, your rhythm, your tension, and your release. Now, imagine what happens when someone else places their head on that same spot. You aren't just sharing a piece of fabric. You are allowing another person's inner world to overlap with yours. You are inviting their unresolved thoughts, their emotional residue, and their spiritual state at rest into your most private sanctuary. The danger isn't always an obvious darkness. Sometimes it manifests as a simple heaviness or restlessness. You might notice a subtle disruption days later, appearing as mental fog, strange dreams that don't belong to you, or unexplained anxiety. Chosen ones feel this more intensely because your inner world is already highly active. Your sensitivity is not a weakness to be cured. It is a function of your design. You are built to discern layers that others never touch, which is why something as seemingly insignificant as a pillow can become a major point of spiritual interference. Many chosen ones notice these patterns without ever connecting the dots. They might host a guest travel, or switch sleeping arrangements, and suddenly their nights feel off. Sleep becomes lighter, and thoughts begin to loop without a logical reason. Because the human mind craves logic, you might blame stress, work, or simple exhaustion. However, spiritual interference rarely announces itself with a shout. It prefers to blend into the background. Protection isn't always about engaging in a fight. Often, it is simply about refusing to open the door in the first place. This is why discernment must be present even in your acts of kindness. Offering comfort to another person does not require you to offer them access to things that carry your personal imprint. A pillow is an intimate object, energetically informed by your private inner life. Once that boundary is crossed, the effects linger and echo in places you wouldn't think to check. Sometimes the disturbance doesn't even come from the person who used it last, but from what you absorbed without realizing it. As subtle as this sounds, it is only the first layer of protection. The second thing you should never lend is anything intimately connected to your faith. This is where the line between the visible world and the invisible realm becomes dangerously thin. Most people look at prayer objects, like a prayer shawl, a specific Bible, or a rosary, and see only symbols or traditions. But for the chosen one, these are not just decorations. They are operational instruments. Every time you pray, something moves in the spirit. Your words don't just vanish into the air. They impress themselves into the things you hold and touch during your moments of surrender. Over time, these objects become charged with alignment. They hold the residue of your hope, your repentance, and your faith exercised under extreme pressure. This is why they feel different in your hands than they do in anyone else's. They respond to you because they have been shaped by your specific inner posture. When you lend something connected to your faith, you aren't just lending material goods. You are lending spiritual access. You are allowing another person's intention to interact with an object that has learned your unique spiritual language. In the realm of the spirit, intentions matter far more than outward actions. Someone can appear clean on the outside while operating from a place of deep-seated jealousy or resentment. Sacred things do not automatically neutralize a wrong intention. In fact, they can often amplify whatever touches them. When another person uses what carries your faith, they imprint it with their own emotional state and unresolved conflicts. When that object returns to you, it may feel wrong, not broken, but perhaps heavier, quieter, or less responsive than it was before. You might try to pray afterward and find that the flow feels interrupted. The connection that used to be instant now feels delayed, and the peace that once arrived quickly now requires a massive effort to achieve. Many chosen ones experience this and immediately blame themselves, thinking they have lost their fire or become too distracted. But the shift didn't start inside of you. It entered through an object you thought was harmless to share. The sacred requires careful stewardship, and not everyone who asks for access is meant to receive it. This is not about judging others. It is about maintaining spiritual order. Tools of faith function best when they are aligned to a single specific assignment. When they are passed around, their spiritual clarity begins to blur. The most dangerous form of contamination is not overt evil, but mixture, a little bit of belief mixed with a little bit of doubt. This mixture doesn't explode. It slowly dulls your spiritual edge. Dull tools are dangerous because you don't notice they are failing until you are in the middle of a critical moment. What protects you must remain personal and honored. You can help others and guide them without handing them the very armor that carries your personal battles. Sometimes, the moment you feel spiritually exposed or disconnected, it isn't because your faith has weakened, but because something that once stood guard was temporarily displaced. Once you realize this, the next revelation becomes unavoidable. This brings us to the third thing that most people ignore or underestimate: the clothing that touches your body on a regular basis. Society treats clothing as neutral, replaceable, and essentially meaningless, but your body is far from neutral. Your body is a vessel that carries your frequency and your spiritual signature. Anything that stays in constant contact with your skin learns that signature over time. Clothes don't just cover you, they adapt to you. They absorb your posture, your emotional cycles, and your inner weather. This is especially true for items you wear often during times of prayer, transition, or even moments of deep vulnerability. Those fabrics become witnesses to your life. When you lend these items, you are allowing an overlap of spiritual fields. Your atmosphere meets someone else's, and their emotional state presses against a fabric that already carries yours. This exchange doesn't cancel out, it layers. This is why you might feel a sudden heaviness or a sadness that doesn't belong to any event in your current life. Because your system is tuned to pick up on changes, your body often reacts to these foreign frequencies before your logic can even process what is happening. Clothing acts as a conductor. It doesn't judge intention or filter out what it carries. It simply stores and transfers. When someone wears what has been close to you, their suppressed emotional states interact with the energy already held in the fibers. When the item returns, it comes back altered and misaligned. This is enough to create static in your life, interfering with your clarity. The effect is often delayed, showing up when your guard is down and you need your focus the most. What touches your body touches your spiritual field. You might wonder why others can lend these things and feel nothing, while you notice shifts immediately. This is where many chosen ones doubt themselves, thinking they are just too sensitive. But the truth is, you aren't reacting more. You are perceiving more. You operate on a different frequency, and that determines what you register. A finely tuned receiver picks up signals that others walk past every day. This is not a flaw, it is a vital function of your calling. The enemy knows this, which is why his strategy against you is often quiet and strategic. The opposition doesn't need drama to reach you. It uses social norms and expectations of generosity to bypass your defenses. You might assume boundaries are only for obvious threats, but for the chosen, interference often slips in through the routine. You feel tired or off before you can even name the cause. Others can brush these things off because their systems aren't designed to process layered spiritual information, but yours is. You carry a deep awareness even when you wish you didn't. Being targeted this way doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are relevant. Generosity without discernment is dangerous for the chosen one. This message isn't meant to make you suspicious or fearful, as fear collapses your perception. Instead, awareness sharpens it. There is a massive difference between being available and being exposed. Many chosen ones confuse love with unlimited access, but true love includes self-protection. Your clarity and peace are not luxuries, they are requirements for the path you are on. When they are disrupted, your entire life feels heavier and noisier. Discernment is not selfishness, it is intelligence applied to compassion. You are never called to isolate yourself or build walls out of fear, as isolation only weakens you. Instead, you are called to protect what is sacred without closing your heart. Helping is not the same as surrendering your access. When you give without discernment, you become fragmented, leaving pieces of yourself in places they were never meant to stay. You must be generous, but never careless. Carelessness is vulnerability without the balance of wisdom. The moment you stop justifying your boundaries is the moment you step into your true power. Protecting your energy, your faith, and your rest is a responsibility tied to your calling. When you guard what is sacred, your yes gains weight because your no actually exists. Your presence becomes stronger because it is no longer scattered across a dozen different people's lives. Not everyone will like your new boundaries, but those who are meant to walk with you will respect them instinctively. Discernment simplifies your life and removes unnecessary confusion. Every time you guard what matters, you send a signal to the unseen realm that you are a faithful steward of what has been entrusted to you. This declaration changes how doors respond to you. Chosen one, understand that what is just an object, for others can be a spiritual bridge for you. From this moment on, You are called to be sharper, clearer, and more aligned. This is not a withdrawal from the world. It is an elevation. When you stabilize your inner world, you gain the power to fulfill your assignment with absolute clarity. If you are still here, it is because you have felt these patterns, but perhaps never had a name for them. Today is not about fear. It is about reclaiming your authority over your own space. You were chosen to be conscious, not careless. If you feel this truth in your spirit, comment the phrase, "I guard what is sacred." Let it be a seal and a boundary in the spirit. Remember, chosen ones don't usually lose their power in a single moment. They leak it slowly by forgetting its value. Today, that leakage stops.